What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Rodriguez versus Penn. Let's start the bottom. The first fight is Dimitri, hard last name to say, versus Cyril Asker. And Cyril looks like a decent fighter, but he's just not amazing. I feel like he's been submitted and knocked out. And, you know what I mean? If your best thing is that you're well-rounded, but you're not great anywhere, then you just don't impress me much. Dimitri's kind of the same. He's good everywhere. His biggest weakness is his wrestling, but I'd say striking and jiu-jitsu-wise, he's both better than Cyril is, and I think sooner or later he's going to catch Cyril and win by knockout. Next is Justin Christensen versus Bojan, crazy last name. A lot of these European guys with these fucking like crazy 50-letter names, but I'm going to say Christensen looks a little bit better to me. I think he's more well-rounded. I think Bojan, you know, his UFC debut, he fought at heavyweight, and he fought that big French guy, Francis Nguyen, and got knocked out. I think Christensen, you know, he got beat by Luis, the Brazilian guy at 205 who's been looking good recently. And I think he's pretty well-rounded. I just think he fought a really good guy in his debut and got caught in that armbar. But I think he'll look better in this fight, so I think Christensen will win by knockout or TKO. Next is Devin Powell versus Kolos Durant, something crazy. Fuck these people and their stupid names. I think that Kolos looks like a good striker with some decent wrestling. But I think Devin Powell looked really good when I watched him on the UFC Dana White looking for a fight. He looks like he's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu, and he's just kind of like a wily guy. He kind of reminds me of Michael Chiesa. I'm going to pick Devin Powell, but like I said, I've never seen either of you guys fight high-level competition, so it's a little hard to pick, but Devin Powell just looks like a solid up-and-comer to me. Next is Jocelyn Jones versus Nina Asarov. And in all honesty, both of these chicks suck. I think that the only reason both of them are getting a fight is because Nina is the current champ, the Brazilian chick's girlfriend. I think, you know, she's 0-2 in the UFC and she didn't look amazing in either of those. And so is Jocelyn. She's 0-2 in the UFC and she didn't look amazing in any of her fights. I'm going to pick Nina. I just think that Jocelyn, all of her wins are by decision. And I think all of Nina's wins except for one are by knockout or TKO. So I'm just basing this on the fact that she's finished people. And she looks like she can throw solid strikes whether she's standing or on the ground. So I think Nina will probably get a decision. Next is Walt Harris versus Chase Sherman. And this is where the card starts to get better in my opinion. More people that have seen fight a couple times. To me, this is really close because Walt Harris, I think he's pretty athletic and a really good striker. And Chase Sherman, you know, he didn't look horrible in his debut. He just looked like he was fighting a guy who was way more technical than him. And, you know, in my opinion, Walt Harris is more technical than Chase Sherman, but he gasses really hard, unlike the guy that Chase Sherman fought who had really good cardio. So I think if Chase Sherman, you know, can keep the pressure on Walt Harris, then he could probably make him tired and win by TKO. But, you know, Walt Harris has good finishing power on his own, so it's one of those really coin flip-ish fights. But I'm going to go with Chase Sherman. I just feel like he's a really good-looking up-and-comer, and Walt Harris has never looked amazing in any of his UFC fights. The only fight he looked good was in that one with Cody East, and he was losing that fight up until they went crazy and brawled with each other. So I'll pick Chase Sherman to win by late TKO. Next is Alex White versus Tony Martin, and to me, these guys are about the same everywhere. I just think that Alex White has better conditioning, and that's what's going to be the biggest factor. I think striking and jiu-jitsu-wise, which is these guys' main attributes, they're basically even, but I think Tony Martin's going to do what he always does. He's going to try to get a finish early. I don't think he'll be able to get it, and I think Alex White will just end up winning rounds 2 and 3 by like grinding him out, kind of. So yeah, 29-28 win for Alex White. Next is Oskoli, crazy last name, versus Victor Pesta, and Victor Pesta has not looked good in the UFC. He's 1 and 3, and his one win was like a boring grinding decision. I think Oskoli has way better wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and striking. I think that his conditioning is also better, and I think sooner or later Oskoli is going to win with like a big punch, or he's going to get to the ground and win with like a choke. Next is Frankie Saenz versus Augusto Mendes, and Augusto Mendes is a really good jiu-jitsu guy, but that's it. I think Frankie Saenz has got the wrestling to keep this fight on the feet. And even if it's on the ground, I think he's just way too big and powerful to get caught in, like, you know, the basic submissions that most guys would get caught in. I think his striking is way better than Augusto's is, and I think sooner or later Frankie's just going to land a big punch and win by knockout. Next is John Moraga versus Sergio Pettis, and to me, Sergio Pettis is not a very good fighter. I feel like every single fight I've ever seen him in, he always wins the first 2 rounds, and then like his brain just shuts off and he does nothing for the third. So all of his wins in the UFC have been 29-28 decisions. And his losses are like that too. He'll be up in fights, and then in the 3rd round, he'll just kind of stop fighting and get finished. Except for that one fight where he got caught. But I mean, aside from that, all of his fights are the same. He doesn't look super impressive. I mean, he's got good striking and he keeps good distance, but I mean, I just don't think he's an amazing fighter. And I think John Moraga, in his last fight, he didn't look good in all honesty, but you never know. He could have been hurt or something could have happened in his personal life. But aside from that last fight, John Moraga, in my opinion, has always been a really solid top 10 guy. And I think that unless that last fight is like a permanent thing, like maybe he had a back injury or something, if he fights like he normally does, he should win this fight easy. If he fought like how he fought in this last fight, he'll probably lose. But I'm gonna go with I think he's gonna come back, look like he normally does, and sooner or later this fight will hit the ground or something. And when it does, I think he'll take Sergio's back and win by rear naked choke. I just think he's more well-rounded, and he's always looking for the finish. Next is Court McGee versus Ben Saunders, and Court McGee's kind of looked okay since he's come back. He had a really long layoff, and he's gone 2-1 since he came back. It's mostly just been his wrestling. His striking's barely been a part of his game in his last couple of fights. I think Ben Saunders, he's gone 4-1 in his last 5. And his last fight wasn't in the UFC, but he fought Jacob Volkman, who's a really, really good wrestler, and he submitted him. And I just feel like Ben Saunders, aside from that fight from Patrick Cote, he was looking amazing. And then, like I said, his last 5 fights, the 4 wins, he looked really good in all of them. I think that Court McGee's just been looking okay. I think that if this fight stays standing, then Ben will probably win by knockout. I think he'll get that tie plum and finally get a knockout. He hasn't had one in a while. If it's on the ground, I think these guys are about even, but I'm just going to go with Ben's jiu-jitsu to be a little bit better than Court's top game wrestling. So I think Ben Saunders is either going to win by knockout, maybe second round, or edge out a split decision. Next, we got Joe Lauzon versus Marcin Held. And to me, Joe Lauzon is just a better version of Marcin Held. I think his striking, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling are all just a little bit better. I think we already saw in that fight with Marcin Held with Diego Sanchez, he's not as good as I thought he was. I thought, he beat Dave Jensen, who I thought was just a better version of Diego, and I guess I was wrong. I mean, Marcin Held was just taken down and kind of controlled for the majority of that fight. And I feel like Joe Lauzon, he got fucked over in his last fight. He clearly beat Jim Miller. I mean, they were basically even. Jim might have had a slight edge striking-wise, but Joe Lauzon was able to hit takedown after takedown in that fight and was able to control him for like half that fight. So, I'm just saying, Joe Lauzon should be in like a 2 or 3 fight win streak right now. And I feel like he's going to be able to do, I think what happened in the Jim Miller fight, he's going to do in this fight. But I don't think Marcin Held is as good as a striker as Jim Miller, so it'll look even more one-sided than that fight. So I just think, Joe Lauzon's either going to win a decision or maybe he'll get like a late submission. Next is Yair Rodriguez versus BJ Penn. And I love BJ Penn. I'm not going to pick against him. But if I was betting, there's no fucking way in hell I would ever bet money on him in this fight. I can't pick against BJ Penn. He's from Hawaii, and so am I, and he's like the legend. But in all honesty, he's like 37, 38. There's no point to this fight. I don't understand why he's coming back. I feel like he just can't let it go the fact that he's, hasn't won a fight in forever, and I think he just wants to kind of come back and win one fight to be like, I went out on top, kind of. And in all honesty, this is a winnable fight for him, in my opinion. Yair Rodriguez has been knocked out before. If you look at his record before he came to the UFC, he lost from like a punch or a head kick, and I saw that fight. I mean, he got knocked out cold. So, and his finishing percentage is not that high. He had that one crazy head kick against Andre Fili, but if you look at his other 4 wins in the UFC, they're all decision wins. I don't feel like he has a lot of power, which is why he throws so much crazy shit, because if you catch anybody with that crazy stuff, you can knock him out, but aside from that, I mean, I think he makes a lot of little mistakes. And if BJ Penn is in good conditioning, which would be like one of the few times ever in his career, if he is in good shape, he could capitalize on those mistakes. His grappling is definitely better than Yair's is. And Yair's probably the faster and more powerful guy, like overall, not striking-wise, but just like his physical strength. But I think BJ's probably the more technical striker of the two, and he's definitely the better jiu-jitsu guy. So it's one of those things where I hope BJ Penn retires after this fight for permanently, no matter what, because like I said, he's getting up there. I just think he's trying to get one more win. I do think he will win, maybe 3rd or 4th round, but like I said, I would not bet. There's no fucking way in hell, unless there was some crazy good parlay. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.